We are recording. I think this is going to be the cold open to the show. Peter getting his dog.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Peter, we're recording. Do you want to bring your dog on the show?
I just had to bring them inside to stop any background noise that you may or may not have heard on previous episodes. Yeah.
Do we need to call anybody to make sure you're not mistreating your dog? By the way, we are. Nice. This is show's on. We start whether you're here.
Evidence is what we're hearing.
They get treated probably better than anyone in the house. I think regular meals, lots of outside activity, unlike us stuck at the computers all day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh man. Well, no, I do think we should just leave that on as the start.
No, definitely not. All right, we're starting now. Ready?
No, we're not. We already started.
As you wish.
Like I will keep ruining. I will ruin every take we do. I will ruin until we just run out of time.
Ruin the day.
That's the start. It's informal, Dylan.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
no studio for us.
Dylan, this week. I was at Insurance Innovators USA 2025 in Nashville. My first time in Nashville. It was an enjoyable time. Some of Peter's countrymen that we met out at Honky Tonk continued to pour alcohol down my throat. That was,
oh yes.
You guys are a different breed over there. Absolutely incredible. I got to see, it was a great conference. Never been to that conference either. I'm not sure if that's always in Nashville or if that's one of the moves or not, but really great venue. The Music City Center there is very nice, enormous. We were taking up a tiny fraction of it. The programming is really good. Great speakers, really great moderators. I was actually quite impressed. Good turnout. Got the team from Scout there. Chris from episode 5. Is that 5 or 6? Was there. Andrew Daniels also from Scout and Crash Bay. Zyro's there. A couple of Richmond companies there. Jim Garrity from Singlestone. Charles Merritt from Buddy were there. Marcus Newberry was hanging out with him from
I saw the driver guys were there. Yeah,
they're good. David Benalik from Richmond National. Got to give them a shout. Another Richmond company. So it was great turnout. I was very impressed, and I had to have my spicy chicken sandwich. Was it Hattie B's? Is that what
Hattie B's?
One of the big ones is?
Yeah, great spicy chicken.
Great spicy chicken. I also realize I am a big old spice baby, and
get the sweats.
I got
a little hot.
Medium was quite literally perfect for me. It was a hot, spicy chicken for me. That was intense. The medium level. I think there's 2 or 3 more levels above that. That's scary.
This is a very very standard MGA, age of the MGA introduction where you talk about sandwiches. I feel like that's
listen.
Actually,
great sandwiches. Important.
On the East Coast here, we're 30 minutes off of lunch, and I didn't have breakfast. And I'm not very hungry, Dylan.
I'm sorry. I haven't had breakfast either. It makes you feel better.
So, Doug, what were we up to the last couple of weeks? Because we spent a fair bit of time in a car together, forcing people to listen to the show.
We got a new listener by force, but he listened. We had to shut it off early because Sven threatened to jump out after listening. I almost killed Peter. I think the last show we did, we were joking about going out and making some claims. I almost did make a claim, merged into a lane. In a Tesla, I feel like there should have been maybe some more warning or just taken over, but didn't happen. So have a note into Elon about that, seeing what's up. Probably he's too busy with his buddy. But we had a good time. We spent some time with some folks in Chicago. Congratulations to Lauro, by the way, for making it through the Creative Destruction Lab. Turris, unfortunately, did not make it. We flunked out of the CDL. Lauro,
you made it up. You made it to the final through 4 or 5 sessions with loads of people.
So. Yeah, which is okay. We made some good connections out of it. I think we'll have some business out of it soon. But
not sure.
It was good to
hold back the criticism there.
That's all. I mean, they don't have anything they can do for us. Maybe they could sponsor the show. Should we get CDL to sponsor?
Well, I think we've got a nice recording we did at the venue, right? That we'll put out at some point.
We did do a nice recording. And also, wonderful people, all great mentors. Yeah. If you're a startup, you should definitely consider applying. And trying to get in. So, and Madison's a fun hang. Like great. That was
really fun.
Yeah. Good place to go to.
We saw a baseball game as well, didn't we, Doug? So
we did. Our good buddy Dave Delaney took us
big
out
shout
to
Dave. Thank you for that.
Yeah, paid for everything. He would not let us take out a credit card. I saw him hit you when you tried to pay. Like he's a Long Island guy.
Jumped in front of me. He's just absolute gentleman, isn't he? He's a top guy. So,
he's wonderful. So it was good, and now we're back to reality, doing the podcast. Because we've had a hiatus here. We were off for like 2 weeks, I think.
Which we got to make sure we get some recordings in here so that we can make sure we hit this on every Tuesday. Because I'm also going to be available here soon. It's so let's knock some out.
Yeah. So with that, why don't we get our guests on? So we have a couple of stand-up gentlemen coming on. These guys, we got a brainiac and a distribution brainiac. So tech brainiac, distribution brainiac coming in, and they're going to teach us a little bit about how to distribute policies. Distribution. Yeah. But for helping out the cannabis space, medical. See
what you did there,
marijuana.
Well done.
Yeah. I didn't try. I was listening to a lot of Jay-Z last night, though, and he has that famous line about.
Yeah, this is gonna get cut off.
None of this is. We don't edit anything.
No. I mean by YouTube striking us because we're
canceled. We're canceled. You mean?
Yeah. You can't say lyrics from someone else. We got to pay royalties.
What's the expression?
I butchered the lyrics, so we're fine.
Okay, good.
What's the expression in business about you've got to kind of maintain a steady line, right? You can't get too low and you can't get too high. Well,
too high.
Well, we're going to play with that.
They're probably not going to like any of these jokes. They've heard them all, like, guys. What are you, 8th graders? Well, listen, we're gonna bring these two guys on, Jake and Brian. Let them tell you about their company. They have a very interesting journey that they just started. Dylan, I want to learn about claims in this space. I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions, and then let's get these guys on.
Sounds great. Let's go.
All right, Jake, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. I apologize. I thought Brian was joining. I did not pay attention. So the intro, like you put up with it, but thank you.
That's a nice way for Doug to say that we were completely rejected by his co-founder that doesn't want him here. Okay, all right.
Next time. We're just setting the stage for our next conversation.
Perfect. Dylan Doug always tells us he has more friends than he does, so that's
true. It's pretty common.
Yeah. At least one showed up. Like they're not all imaginary. Like some.
That's helpful.
Yeah. No, Brian's doing the hard work right now, right? He's out distributing the product, getting things done.
Exactly.
So,
we've had a tremendous amount of momentum lately, so we've been keeping him busy. But couldn't be more appreciative of the invite to be a part of the podcast and excited to be here.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, so Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're working on? I think your background is interesting, right? Not from the insurance space, but an operator who, these are my favorite stories. It's like somebody comes into insurance, solve their own problem, did not see what was needed in the space. And I think you guys have, the most interesting backgrounds and insights because you can actually, see what's needed. And you were smart about it, right? You went out and said, I need other insurance people around me. And that's Brian, right? One of those people.
Yes.
I'm sure there's others on the team. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're working on and the genesis of it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And the theme a lot for me is I know what I don't know, which is what one of my mentors always told me. And we're really set on executing on this unique moment in time on the road to federal legalization of cannabis, but also surrounding ourselves with people who fill in the gaps for where our current expertise doesn't hold up. But my story is interesting. I was a frustrated cannabis operator, but first and foremost, I was a patient. I was a Division I lacrosse player who had a ton of injuries. I'm all better now. Except I have the body of a 7-year-old Jewish man. But other than that, I'm good. But essentially, I was one of the first patients in the PA medical marijuana program. I credit it with saving my life. And then after that, I was employee number 4 at a multi-state operator called Ethos Cannabis. Been involved in cannabis for 6 or 7 years at the very least. From an operations standpoint, I call it getting an MBA in pot. We help grow the business from 5 to 300 plus employees that year. Expanded to multiple states. And it was there that I really built $50 million grows, did M&A, legal, and really got my feet wet in running a multi-state cannabis operator. And then being the lowest on the totem pole, I got given insurance. And I was tasked with essentially doing all our applications and then looking at a new program. And what I found was alarming, respectfully. The products were taken from other industries. Amazon, CVS, or Dwayne Reed's. They just didn't want to know what's behind that one door. And 85% of the policies I read back then had cannabis exclusions. And it was then that it dawned on me that there was opportunity to super serve. My original hypothesis was the largest of the large operators in a way that the industry hasn't before. And my role was really to bridge the gap between the insurance and reinsurance world and the cannabis world, which has a lack of data and a lack of understanding. So it actually took me 5 years to get to market, but we built a bespoke program from the ground up with our carrier partner, and essentially took MOUs with the industry's largest players, brought in MMJ commissioners, insurance commissioners, and built a true bespoke one-stop shop. We say from seed to CEO. But at the heart of it, I am a frustrated cannabis operator who now is an insurance nerd and have found a home in insurance entrepreneurship. And it's actually perfect you had me on because I think there's a unique moment in time with MGAs and specialty providers that really will never happen again as we're in an industrial revolution. But yeah, that's really the background on myself.
That's amazing. A couple of quick questions from my side. So what type of entity is your business? You're acting as an MGA. And second question, could you go into a bit of detail about, cannabis programs? What coverage does that entail? What are you giving to these customers?
So we are an MGA, MGU. On the cannabis side, we are the exclusive program administrator for our captive partner. And essentially, we administer the product throughout wholesalers and retailers throughout the United States. Within our program, it really specializes on the commercial side. So property, product liability, GL, essentially everything you need to operationalize your cannabis license in any state. And then within there's sub-products that I really get excited about. We have some of the most innovative crop solutions in the industry, some great vape insurance product language. And then we took it a step further. So the professional lines is very difficult to get in cannabis historically. We have a direct facility for D&O, E&O, EPLI, stock throughput coverage. And then we also have some unique markets for workers' comp. We really try and lean into our strengths, which is program administration, expertise on cannabis, and then with our partners, Brian, expertise in retail distribution and wholesale distribution, and try and partner with those that we feel we can amplify what they are selling and what they're offering to their insureds. But the whole of it really is a one-stop shop. We say from seed to CEO.
I love that expression. It's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with it. I have to give credit where it's due, but I did not come up with it. But yes, I thought it was a fantastic expression as well.
So at this point, how large is your company?
Yeah, so we're about 5 people right now. We have a board, and really the theme for us is we think about this risk and building our MGA differently. We have a huge tech play, and we really lean into our technology, and we really lean into the idea that we, aren't your classic insurance people. We aren't dragged down by legacy technology. We have our own proprietary technology. And our core theme is that we're building differently and feel that our technology allows our underwriters, our sales department to, produce as much as, 5 to 10 other people. But yeah, so right now we're a young program, and we're really, focused on technology, data, and relationships. Because at the end of the day, this is a relationship game. As much as technology comes down to it, it really is about, servicing someone better than the other person. So we really believe in having a human on the other side of the phone. You can always call or text us, and trying to service our brokers and wholesalers as fast as possible.
Talk to us a little bit about the tech, because I think a lot of listeners who are in the process of starting an MGA or considering it, there's a lot of great options to kind of go out and buy particular pieces, right? And so you're coming up from the approach that you wanted to build it in-house for you. So what were some of the key components, pieces that you wanted to create internally that makes you stand out from the crowd? What was the thought process there?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the technology offering in the E&S space is very unique, especially being a captive. I felt that with some of the AMS systems, some of the CRM systems, we just didn't plug in naturally where 80 to 90% of their market was. And for me, it was clunky. So we believe in solving for issues and building to solve. So it was really about, and I always say, I feel the path reveals itself once you start walking, and what we really needed to build. So CRMs, they're out there, it fits us. But when it comes to policy administration, when it comes to essentially a virtual underwriter, I felt that there wasn't something that could complement our underwriting style, which is very out of the box. We're not black and white, we're gray. Every cannabis risk is vastly different. And we felt that there wasn't really a back-end system that could interact with our underwriters that way. But I have a dear friend who essentially said that you should build it yourself and control it rather than kind of morphing what's already out there into our unique model. So we believe in MVPs, minimal viable product, getting it out there as fast as possible, getting user feedback, and then iterations of improvement from there. It's very Silicon Valley-esque, but I also want to be conscientious of, capital. A lot of these solutions are 100 to 200K just to get in the door, whereas I felt we could build it much cheaper internally, but also make it more effective for our use cases. Carma is really a platform, and the way we think about it is that cannabis is our first focus, but psychedelics are next. And there's a bunch of niche, specialized segments that are just too small for the big guys and big carriers, but have a really unique loss ratio, a unique underwriting style that's analogous to cannabis that we can apply our technology to. But long story short, I just felt what was out there didn't fit what we were trying to do. And it really comes down to operational efficiency. I believe strongly in the next 12 months, our underwriters will be able to produce, hundreds to 200s of submissions with our technology rather than a team of 20, while also controlling our technology and our data, which we all know data's king here.
So quick couple questions there. What are the features? What are the things that make it more efficient? What is it that you didn't see out there that you then needed to build?
So I like to think of this from a 50,000 foot view. And I apologize, I'm the layman in the room as a cannabis operator coming to the insurance side. But for me, it comes down to touch points and time spent. We're solving for time. Brokers, everyone wants everything now, which I respect. But at the end of the day, underwriting takes X amount of time. There's a story to tell. There's research that has to be done. And our LLM technology, which will be released in the next 60 days, essentially allows us to take those applications, take all the data, and reduce our underwriting time by 50% right out of the gate. Then we also have a portal technology, which frankly everyone's doing, which also allows us to just adapt and reduce that underwriting time significantly. I really put it akin to a virtual underwriter working alongside our underwriters. We have AI agents as well, which we'll put out in the future. But really the goal of our technology is to reduce touch points and reduce time it takes to underwrite. Eventually, we do hope that there will be a zero-touch system out there for a part of our market. Again, everything takes longer and costs more in insurance. So we're really focused on reducing our underwriting time and reducing the time that anyone has to wait for quotes.
I know the guys are conscious to jump in on some great questions for all of this, but my take on it is it shouldn't be zero touch, but it should be touch what you need to. And I think a lot of the underwriting process, you're spending almost equal time on submissions that are not equal in terms of the requirement to review them properly or the value for you as a business. So you have to have a way of filtering those submissions through to correctly review them. And as you quite rightly said, you have to have a way to empower your distribution chain to be involved as much or as little as they need to. And that's been really hard traditionally, as you quite rightly say, I believe, in the E&S space.
Mm-hmm. And I love the viewpoint you took of, minimal touch, because at the end of the day, there will always need to be a human on the other side. Regardless if you say it's zero touch, if not, there always has to be a product expert. But I just look at what's going on right now in this segment, and I just see a ton of opportunity where technology can be applied in a meaningful way that creates value for those that are on the end of that chain, whether you're an underwriter, a distributor, or an operator. But yeah, I love the perspective you brought.
Jake, what you're solving for isn't just needed. I think you're talking about maybe moving to an adjacent market with psychedelics, but the E&S model overall, right? You could apply what you're doing and definitely shrink the underwriting time and the operational costs for the other. I think we just went over 100 billion now, and I think we'll probably get closer to 150 over the next 3 to 5 years. And in fact, the benefit is for every one of you that are out there, there's 99 that aren't, and Peter and I are building solutions to help those guys. But why not move out into other spaces, or even maybe license kind of what you're doing? Because I think it is, if that approach works and you're able to do this, you sort of come competitive with me and Peter, which is fine. Like there's so much room to grow in this space. But it's really interesting approach that probably isn't just needed for for what you're doing in the E&S space. Like pick your flavor of E&S and it's needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the future, that's a possibility, frankly. For us, we always say, keep it simple, stupid, KISS. We are hyper-focused on executing the cannabis opportunity that's in front of us. I know for a fact that once cannabis is federally legalized, the market dynamics, the advantage, the moat that we've built over the last 5 years will not exist in the same way. And then, further down the line, we can apply it. But for me, I'm conflicted because technology in terms of an acquisition could be thrown out the window. A large carrier acquires, said company. Why use their tech when they just spent $1 billion? So for me, it's really about solving for what our MGA is going through and increasing our operational efficiency. And then down the line, once we execute, because I commend you guys. Executing is the hardest thing. Everyone has a great idea, but not everyone can execute. And then once we execute, we can figure out our next steps. But I think I see so many fantastic entrepreneurs like yourselves that are working on this stuff that I'm not quite sure there's a fit for me in the future to license it, more so apply the technology alongside our proprietary data set to enhance someone else's technology or operation. But anything's on the board for the future, but first and foremost, we need to execute on the task at hand.
Yeah, love it. One of the things that you were bringing up was the use of capital and being efficient with that capital, which is, you certainly say the right things. If I was a VC right now, I'd be excited to hear what you're saying.
The AI VC wants you to spend all the money right away as fast as you can. It's not fast enough. Should have been spent tomorrow or yesterday.
That's one of my favorite things about the MGA model. And I'm such an insurance nerd. I respectfully have a hypothesis that the insurance industry is about 20 years behind every other segment when it comes from a technology standpoint. There's a clear age gap that we can all understand. But also, too, these larger companies are bloated and dragged down by these legacy technologies that if you were to bring that to a true Silicon Valley company, they would say, we got rid of that 20 years ago, but there's just this, they can't release what was dragging them down. So I think it's such a unique moment. And then when I learned about the MGA model and what a beautiful, operationally efficient business it is, alongside this unique moment, the light went off in my head. And Dylan, you hit the nail on the head. It's all about operational efficiency. And I think with AI, with just where we are in this unique moment in time, we can build differently than was ever allowed before. 15 years ago, you had to use Watson to do a human translation of an app to, an LLM. This didn't even exist. Now we can have someone create it in 60 days. But I think where the disconnect is everyone understands that this MGA model is beautiful and it can be operationally efficient. But unless you have the expertise in these niche industries, I think it can't be applied to full force. And I think that's one of the things missing with these larger MGA shops, that it comes down to the cannabis technology from 5 years ago is obsolete. There's a huge hemp beverage play going on right now. I was talking to some of my friends in the industry 10 years ago. If you told me that hemp beverages would be the largest growing SKU in the cannabis segment on the whole, I would have laughed you out the room. Now, food and wine, every single large operator is doing it. They're changing licenses. That's a coveted MMJ, medical marijuana license, to a hemp 21 and over store. So I just think the MGA model fits so perfectly in dynamic, ever-evolving industries that can adapt. Excuse me.
Yeah. In terms of high-level performance indicators for your business and things like that, what are some of the focuses? Because you've mentioned, the capital use being efficient. So I take things like expense ratio is very high on your monitor list. And what are the other key things you're tracking as a business to measure your success?
Yeah, for us, it's KPIs, it's quote bind ratios, it's how many submissions, it's our operational efficiency. I think you would find that our operational margins are much more efficient than what's traditionally out there for MGAs.
To be fair, that's not that hard sometimes, but yeah.
That's fair. I'll take it. But yeah, we focus on that. But at the end of the day too, we also have some proprietary data, KPIs that we're always monitoring. And at the end of the day, this is just as much a data company as much as an insurtech. And cannabis data from the last 10 years is very hard to find. And we've been collecting at an accelerated pace. And, that leads to more decisions. But at the whole of it, entrepreneurship to me is the art of pivoting. And it's also the art of making decisions with not all the data in front of you. So for us, it's about collecting all the data and then interpreting it in a way that's useful. But in terms of metrics of like KPIs, it's always the classic, quote bind ratio, submissions, and then efficiency that each individual member of our team is bringing.
You talked a little bit about the MGA model, and I'm sure you guys have outside investors. I think there's been this demarcation point. I don't know when it happened. Let's say like over the last 2 years of MGAs before then just getting valuations that made no sense, I think, for the market that they had. And even the way you're thinking about it is like, hey, we have this adjacent market and maybe there's other plays, but like here's the space that we're in, right? That we know well. Here's how it's growing. And it's not $1 billion business, right? From just this part of it. Maybe you have other ways to make that expand out. But some of the valuations that were given out, prior to 2022, let's say, really, I feel like put the MGA market on the back foot because investors had outlandish expectations. They didn't know the space well. Curious about, you don't have to go into names of investors, but how did you find your investors? How did you help them? If they weren't from the insurance space, how did you help them think about what's realistic to expect from a technology company that's attacking this space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think anyone in the cannabis industry, whether you're insurance or an operator, would find that half of the VCs in the world can't even talk to you. And then the other half, it's out of their expertise. So it's a very, very small market. So what's unique about us is that we primarily work through high net worth family offices. So we do not have a VC breathing down our neck, help, perhaps making us lean into strategic decisions that are more based on monetary returns than what's best for the business. But it was very difficult, frankly. When I raised money 6 years ago for the first time, never working a day in insurance, telling people that I'm setting up a solution for a federally illegal market was a very difficult thing to sell. But at the end of the day, it's the story and it's the ability to bring in a team. And, I know what I don't know, which I always say, and having those who have lived the life of a retailer for the last 20 years, those who have been a cannabis underwriter for the last 5 years allows us to put the pieces of the puzzle. But in terms of translating insurance to the uneducated investor, it was a little more difficult than I anticipated, actually. The MGA concept is very foreign, let alone a captive. But when it comes down to the unit economics, that made a lot of sense to these people. Middleman, you're not taking capital risk in a way that a carrier or a sidecar is. And then even though the exit multiples are all over the place in the last couple of years, they perhaps might have been inflated and kind of went down from, the insurtech space, everything that was going on just globally. We've always remained transparent. We're not saying that we're going to be doing $200 million in premium. Our goal is to have an incredibly profitable book and then lean into operational efficiency and then build off of EBITDA for multiples and from there. But for us, it's all about strategic partnerships. Whether you're an investor, a wholesaler, a retailer, we do not want 1,000 relationships. We want a few relationships so we can super serve you better than anyone, whether you're an investor or a distributor.
Yeah, those are great goals. We talk a lot on the Age of the MGA about growing profitability, not growing premium, and how easy it is sometimes to grow premium and not do it profitably, right? But I'm also interested, again, you say it's such a dynamic space, this acquisition element of MGA, the MGA world right now. As you come into it as a founder of this business, where do you see, what's your aim? What's the exit plan? What's the future? Do you even have that in mind? I'm very interested when I speak to founders to hear at what point they consider that.
Yeah, I do. Ideally, we would like in the next 5 years to have a potential acquisition opportunity in front of us. Now, I'm not sure that makes sense because a boring, profitable business is exactly what I'm looking for. And as an insurance entrepreneur, I'm trying to multiply that as much as possible, especially with such a low loss ratio like cannabis. But ideally, in the next 5 years, we would like to have an opportunity to potentially make a strategic partnership or, bring our technology to another market. But again, it's a platform and we're looking to execute on cannabis over the next couple of years. It's a sprint, as I always say, and then we'll go from there. But right now, I would say in the next 5 years is kind of our goal.
I think that's brave and honest to admit. I like that. I mean, I think we all have to think a little bit about that as founders. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm here to make money. As much as I love insurance, as much as I love cannabis and the industry and what it does for patients, I'm a family man and I'm an entrepreneur and I treat entrepreneurship much like athletics. Instead of my career being 4 years, it's going to be 60 years. So it's about how I can create a platform that I can drop in and apply to other interesting segments that, get me thinking about things. And also to help people. A big part of my journey is how can we help the patients, whether it's psychedelics, medical cannabis, because it, saved my life. So it's very important to me to try and pay that forward.
Jacob, I think a lot of people that listen, or the two people that listen to the show, the one that we don't force to listen, they are thinking about building MGAs, right? And I think some of them might fall into your camp of, I'm from the space, from whatever industry that this insurance product is going to serve, and I don't see what's needed out there. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you built your team, because I met Brian before you, and Brian's insurance distribution guy through and through, great guy. We clicked immediately because the way he was approaching, what he's helping you solve. How did you meet Brian? How did you meet others on the team? Because I think that's a part of your secret sauce is, right, you bringing that team together that gets the insurance side of things. And I think that's what's leading to you guys having, the success you're having now. I mean, the product itself, your background is great, but you need the other parts of it. So how did you hold it together?
Yeah. So again, this is the art of pivoting. The company, the platform has evolved and matured significantly over the last 5 years in terms of how we attack the market. But primarily how we met the team was LinkedIn posts. Put a job out on LinkedIn. Our SEO, connected me with a lot of the players in the space. And frankly, it's a very small space. But what I always say is everyone has to carry their own water on our team. We all wear many, many hats. I'm the janitor, I'm the psychiatrist, I'm the CEO, I'm everything in between. And while what we're doing is incredibly interesting, you have to be able to wear multiple hats and, contribute to underwriting, contribute to sales. But primarily the way we found them was the internet and the power of the internet. And then, I believe strongly if we're talking about recruiting in what's called a personality index test, the PI test. It's been around since the 70s, hasn't changed. And it really gives us great insight into the type of person that we're potentially bringing in to work with us. And then it's all culture. Even though remote, We really recruit people that are like-minded, entrepreneurial, looking for upward mobility, looking to be challenged. And I think that fosters a really great work ethic from the team, which is why it produces. And then the last thing is knowing what I don't know, which I say over and over again. It's no ego, and it's about making the team as profitable and successful as possible and the pie as big as possible for everyone involved. By having everyone aligned, bringing in expertise that the team doesn't have, I think it just creates a formula for execution.
Nice. Can I ask real quick? This is, I think, a kind of an interesting tangent, because a lot of the people that we're talking to are going to be founders or trying to become founders. So related to the PI test, what are you looking for with it? Because are you looking for people that are more similar to you or to another model employee, or what are, because
that's a great question.
Getting the analysis is only part of it. It's then how you decide with that analysis. So I'd love to hear what
it really has to, thank you, I appreciate that. So it really has to do with the role. So for example, an underwriter, their PI test needs to see more detail orientated, things like that, a level of detail, being able to digest information quickly, but also regurgitate it in a way that's translatable. In terms of sale, it's really about personality, people skills, the ability to mesh with people. Doug, when you talk to Brian, who's our chief revenue officer, I suggest everyone friend him on LinkedIn. He's a fantastic guy, but he just oozes affection. You just want to talk to him, you want to hang out with him. He's a great guy. Whereas our underwriters, we're really looking for someone that can churn submissions, that can be detail orientated, and really bridge the knowledge gap of the submission from the retailer to our reinsurers that are really putting up the capacity and not as focused on each individual submission. And then also too, there's an element of creativity. We've recently launched a couple new products, a hemp beverage play. We just launched Invent Insurance for a farmer's market or something. And having the creativity element allows us to bring these products to market much faster in a way from an underwriting or distribution perspective that I feel is a little bit different, that adds a little special sauce.
Nice. So you mentioned early on, not so much about claims, that's mostly with your carrier. And we've also talked about the loss ratio related to cannabis. So let's get into a little teeny piece of the claims that you can speak to, and then let's move that to the loss ratio and what makes this a low loss ratio product, while also serving the clients. So, so who are you working with right now? If you can mention, if not, that's fine too. On the carrier side, you're saying the carrier is actually handling the claims.
Correct. Yes, our carrier partner handles the claims internally. We feel it's better than a third party handling it, that their desk is taking care of it. And then what contributes to the low loss ratio is primarily the claims are on the property side. So we've had very, very minimal claims, and they're all property-based. Product liability just really hasn't seen anything. And I think that's where you see a huge portion of the premium going out right now. Because it's so difficult to track that back, there's so many elements in these product liability. A vape pen has hardware from China. The top part has oil from an operator that's licensed. It's very, very difficult. But we've also seen a reluctance from the state level agencies to really slap any heavy fines on these operators that have mix-ups. So I think all those pieces kind of contribute to a very low loss ratio. And I expect it to continue to be low as these operators are very well run for the most part. A lot of these bigger ones are from Fortune 500 companies. They fully understand how to run a billion-dollar industry. And I think as time goes on, we'll see a favorable loss ratio for the next 5 or so years.
All right. So first thing, I do actually agree with a capacity providers wanting to handle their own claims internally. I'm actually a big fan of that. Now, that said, not all do a great job regardless of that. But having skin in the game, aligns the incentives the proper way. That said, even then, their mistakes still then lead to your capacity problems. So what are you doing to, if anything, to audit their claims? Are you really getting into their claims? Are you involved with their
no, so that's all the carrier. That's all the carrier side. Again, we've had such a small amount of claims. They're very small in terms of price, and they're paid out very quickly. It's not massive payments, but I can't opine on how the carrier audits them. But from what we've seen, everyone has been extremely happy.
And that's great. But I would say you as an MGA, I would audit them, is what I'm saying. I'm going the other direction.
Interesting.
Not even just internally, their audit process, which I'm sure they probably have a QA process, but in the end, you're responsible for it. Also, getting the feedback and having conversations with the claims team really does help in the development of your policy, right? So understanding what happened, why it happened, and hearing it from the claims people themselves who've actually had to litigate something or deal with that claim or deal with that weird situation. I think there's a lot of benefit to that personally. That's
great insight. Thank you. You see, this is about having no ego. You clearly have a deeper background in claims than me, and I think that's fantastic advice. But that's one of the things I love about insurance. There's so many different niches and segments, especially in the MGA world, that you are just pulling in all these different domain experts. But thank you for that.
Absolutely. I appreciate that attitude.
The one good decision I made in running my MGA was bringing Dylan on to basically, we had no claims, we had no product to start with, but Dylan turned from claims, starting that process, building it, to really helping us develop some pretty interesting features in our product that led to good results. So I do like that approach. It's always more connected than you think, right? That's the product that they are buying, that your policyholders are buying, is protection from something in the future. So it's connecting those things is not everybody does it well. Even like the really big boys, they don't do it well. And so, yeah, it's an interesting approach.
When someone doesn't do something well, I see room for opportunity and growth there. And just because the status quo has been not to do it well, I still think there's an element of innovation and, a different attitude that could be brought to it. Claims is obviously a very difficult subject. Just, there's personal things going on. There's a lot. These people have had their life's money put into the business. But I think every part of the puzzle is extremely important in the MGA side. And it really comes down to customer service, and claims is a big question we get. So, I really value that advice and insight from, those who have climbed the mountain, as I say.
Appreciate it.
Your viewpoint on, there's so much in insurance that people make so much money on that they're like, why would I do this any differently? I don't want to pick on the brokers right now, but that's usually the one that it comes down to, is like, I'm on the golf course at like 3:30 and you're like trying to tell me I should do things differently. Yeah, because I think there's people like Jacob coming up behind and are going to change the game a bit, right? So it might happen slowly, but it is happening.
Yeah, everything takes a long time in insurance, way longer than cannabis. I'm sorry, Peter, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just saying that that it's almost where things are too good to want to make the change, but
exactly.
but not realizing that you could make it so much better that you could take the helicopter to the golf course. That's the point. We want to make that level of change. So I guess back really quickly, you were mentioning on the claim side, the property component is one of the major issues. Is that crop type of property? Are we talking greenhouses being damaged by hail? What kind of fires, I guess, is probably
primarily fires, wind, hail. Obviously what happened in California, changed the industry a lot. And then obviously in Florida too, what's been going on this year. Clearly, with all the parametric options out there, it's very obvious that global warming is here. And we just underrate those accounts that are closer to fire zones differently, closer to shoreline differently than some of the competitors have. But I believe that there will be a rebalancing of the cannabis insurance segment in the near future, just because of the immense amount of losses in California. And there's a bunch of regulatory changes happening. In California, for example, they've had a record number of cannabis licenses not renew. There's a bunch of things happening. Massachusetts is blowing up in terms of operators. There's a lot of states that are coming out of the woodworks now. Texas has still not been unlocked for hemp. They just banned these drinks. But there's a ton of New York is having a slow roll. I believe that will be the largest cannabis capital in the world in the next 10 years, and California will become a manufacturing arm. But with all this going on, I just think the industry is now taking the next step. But again, once it's federally legalized, it's going to change all over again. But I'd actually be interested in all three of your guys' perspective on, if you don't mind, why there's a reluctance to, Dylan, you kind of talked about, taking the helicopter to the golf course rather than the car. I see all these opportunities, and in cannabis, what I don't understand coming to insurance is in cannabis, if I said to you, hey, we have a new light that has lower fire risk, will cost you less, and produce way more crop for you, everyone jumps on it, which is why every 5 years the technology is different. Vape pen technology versus 2 years ago is vastly different. But in the insurance world, I'd be interested on your guys' opinion, why you think there's a reluctance to adopt technologies or strategies that would change your value prop.
All right, two things I think.
Careful, Dylan.
No, we're going there. So number one.
I opened a Pandora's box.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So number one, you're talking to people whose job is to handle risk. So they're of course risk adverse. They have issues dealing with risk in general. That said, if you're dealing with the E&S specialty space, which is a lot of what pretty much everyone here, of course, is very interested in that E&S space. I think they're people who are willing to take certainly much greater risks in their insurance product, that their product is more diverse, that they go after more niches and try to get a deep understanding, and understanding that information is the thing that protects you from risks, right? Because if you don't know of the risks that are out there, then you've self-insured those. And if you're the carrier in this case, right, you're insuring risks that you don't fully understand. You're taking on additional risks. Just because you don't know they're there doesn't mean that they don't exist. And so I think it's that lack of understanding from the product side, right, that has prevented some change. But the big thing that's and of course then there's the regulatory component of that especially if it's admitted, will they even accept the form that's different, or the rates they're appropriate to go with that form? It's a whole different issue. So you're dealing with government with a layer of then risk adverse people. But the other thing that you were mentioning is technology. And so I think that the biggest challenge with technology is I don't think there's a many legacy companies out there in a variety of different fields, and they all do the same thing. It's just that insurance, because of the way that they're built, has more stability, and these companies on average are longer than most other industries. And so really what happens is there's some of the companies that are most hard hit by legacy technology. And it's really nice to be able to say, hey, let's just rip everything out and install something new from your core systems. But it's really difficult. It's very sticky, your core systems. And so I don't know that you can do that. I think most companies that are adopting new technology have a platform that can at least have API plugins, right? So they're able to then have lots of micro applications running. So that, so if there's a solution that can be easily plugged in to what they have, great. But core systems, I mean, and this is where I will say something that may get me canceled in the insurance world, but Guidewire is a perfect example. Guidewire implementations take years and years and years, and then no one leaves because it is too big of a pain in the ass. They were burnt so hard in the process of implementing Guidewire that the concept of doing something else is so painful that no one wants to do it. I think they make their own stickiness.
Good sales technique.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Dylan, if anyone from Guidewire, yep. I was just going to say, if anyone from Guidewire is listening, Dylan, we are open for sponsorship on the show. Right?
Well, okay. So I have a call literally in 10 minutes with Guidewire's venture program. So Dylan, F you. Thanks.
You do not endorse the views of your fellow co-hosts.
Yeah, Dylan, I'm first on board with getting done. You know what? Look, I'm a big fan of Marcus Rayu's, who Guidewire for all its issues, right? And they know about them. But 20 years ago, that was cutting edge. And I think it shows, like, from a technology aspect anyway, like how difficult it is. I think insurance, Dylan, I don't mean to take over here, but
You're good.
Insurance, the distribution part of it, there's so many counterparties involved, even in simple admitted products, especially like when you go to life and health, and then obviously with the E&S, that it's so much more complex than I think other industries. And so to do the rip and replaces, it's very difficult to envision that. And then I don't think it's all the insurance side. Like the last decade or so, we kind of screwed up on the technology side, and I'm still seeing this happen. But like the investors got involved and really were pushing companies to overpromise, underdeliver. So I think there's overhang we're still working out there. Now, this is a 30 or 40 decade problem we're dealing with, so it's not all their fault. But I see technology companies come in today and do the same things, like selling vaporware, overpromising, underdelivering, not understanding, maybe going out and talking to a few folks, and they're like, great, I have a solution now. And I am a PhD student out of Stanford, and so I can get Y Combinator to give me $4 million. But that's not enough for the adoption curve that's needed in this space. And so sometimes we just get in our own way, I think, on the innovation side, and definitely get out over our skis. So I think it's a combination of things, Jacob, but Dylan hit most of them there, I think.
And to be very clear, once Guidewire is implemented, that's just rock solid.
And they're
system.
great. They're great.
Right.
Dylan's like, as long as you get them done, we're fully in.
Yeah. So if you're if you're an executive and you're about to come into a company and they just finished their Guidewire implementation, fantastic. And Guidewire is also a very easy solution to say yes to when you're the CIO, CTO of a carrier, because you know that it's going to be a dependable outcome at the end, right? But it is painful.
Good save, Dylan.
Yeah, wait, no save necessary. I'm quite simply saying what I think is the truth. So, in my opinion, and from the opinion of people who have gone through those implementations before, they're tricky. So if we can speed that up, if we can find a better way, and just be clear, tons of it is the carriers also asking for every kind of not out of the box version of Guidewire. If you want the out of the box version of many large softwares, very easy. But when you ask for, hey, I want this version of the underwriting worksheet, and I want this way to put in a rater, and I want this, and everything is very, very specific, and there's 43 different products that you're trying to solve for, and a bunch of different departments involved, it gets more and more complex. So the carriers do that to themselves to a point.
Yeah, look, for me, a very small point on this. You've obviously got us quite riled up, Jacob, with this question, so credit to you. The interesting thing for me is what you say, Dylan. The process of bringing in change into an organization, particularly an insurance carrier, is so long and so complex, and there's a lot of due diligence, there's a lot of process to that the reward has to be the Guidewire reward. It has to be $1 million, $2 million, $5 million project, because they've committed 12 months of resource and dedicate to get to that point where they can even have a conversation about that, and more, and more. So I think the industry brings a lot on itself, and it's where companies like you, Jacob, have such a great advantage that you can be more dynamic, you can build your own things, you can test and learn and have that minimum viable product approach.
I mean, I think it plays perfectly to your guys' podcast and why the MGA and specialists are more important than ever. I believe there's riches and niches. And, this is the moment where the specialist, the domain expert, is really needed for the large carriers as these more emerging industries come, as everything becomes globalized and more commoditized.
Yeah. Look, I've loved this, Jacob. You speak with great calmness, authority in your space. It's clear that you own it, and we can get a sense just from this interaction that you're going to be incredibly successful. So thanks so much for being with us. We love to end with a classic question. Your legacy in this space, what you'd like that to be, and how you'd like to be remembered in the world of insurance and MGAs.
That's a fantastic question. My goal is for no one to ever know me. I want our team to have the space, the highlight. My goal is to be behind the scenes and really put the spotlight on those who excel within our platform. But in terms of legacy, it's really just being known as an executor. Respectfully, I think if you have the wherewithal to bring in those who know the space to complement your knowledge And my motto is I burnt the ships a long time ago. And you have the willingness to, trek into the valley without an answer and, sit there for many, many years, then I think you'll be successful. But for me, it's really just I want to be known as someone that was able to execute, deliver value to my investors, to obviously the policy holders and the reinsurers, most importantly, and then be able to build a team that can really stand on itself and, put the shine on those people that are delivering to our clients.
That's amazing, Jacob. Great answer. And I'm sorry, but everyone in the space will now know you because you've come on the #1 insurance MGA podcasts. So,
Peter,
don't worry. One day I'll go into the abyss. But no, it's a pleasure. And Doug, if you don't mind, I just wanted to briefly touch on one last thing before you let me go. You had said a comment that many of your viewers might be looking to start their own MGA. And just a word of advice: raise more money and be ready to take a lot longer than you think, and be willing to part with equity for those that bring real domain expertise value, because the name of the game is speed and time, and you can't do this industry on yourself. Clearly by this conversation, there's deep domain experts, and as an MGA, there's no way you can know everything unless you've been in this space for 20 plus years. But I think it's ripe for innovation and for those who are stepping in for the first time.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah. Yep. Go on, Doug. Sorry.
I was going to say, great advice, Jake. And if are you okay with people reaching out to you on LinkedIn? They want to chat about things. Obviously, good investors and capacity, and those are always welcome. But I love how open you've been, with your journey. And I think that's part of what we're trying to do here is just get access to people that have gone through it, right, and at different stages, and maybe are willing to impart advice to others.
I wish I saw this when I was starting. That's why I wanted to say it, because it's a lonely journey. It really is a lonely walk, and it's very glamorized in American culture. And having a podcast like this, I think, brings tremendous value that really there isn't enough of in the space. So I commend you guys for starting this, and I just wish when I was starting I saw this, frankly.
Thanks, pal. Well, it's great to have you on, and look forward to continuing watching your journey.
Yeah,
thanks again. Hope to do it again.
Thanks, Jake. Very cool guy, very thoughtful.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And guess what? When you guys kick me out, he's gonna be a great co-host for you because
he speaks.
Dylan, we've been chatting about who to get rid of.
I know. You accidentally put it on the group Slack. I saw. I don't know if that was an accident.
If I would have killed myself and Peter by accident with this car mishap, you might have been searching for your own.
This close to a sole presenter,
yeah. Really on your own.
He
turned insurance.
He flipped the script on us too with the asking us a question. What?
Yeah,
he knows the questions fast to get us riled up.
We look like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. So in this episode, and I want to keep a tally of it, we've made sure that the Tesla insurance folks or Tesla in general will not be sponsoring us,
or
probably
Guidewire ever again. Shit all over Guidewire, and
I did not. I want to be clear. I just want to say what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For my opinion only.
Yeah.
So we lost a few potential sponsors. So
and listeners, I feel like we had 2. Now we're at 0 again.
They were both Guidewire employees. That's really tough.
Yeah. Peter, I thought you were going to try and get like an actual number out of Jacob, because we were driving in the car the other day, and Peter's like, "What's your guys' number? What are you talking about?" He's like, what you guys can exit at. And he gave us his to start with, and the Michael, good friend of ours from Allium Data, great dude, gave his. I was like, shit, I'm going to sound like a real asshole with my number, but it takes a lot of money to build a space mining company is all I have to say with that.
To be fair, Tourists, if anyone's out there and wants to buy Tourists and they've got $2 billion, then Doug's your man.
It is for sale right now at that amount. I will close up shop today and be your chief innovation officer, whatever you need me to do.
Bargain.
Yeah, I want to go hang out with Laura. I want to get a role there. Alex,
you guys want to do the Mexico location, right? The Mexico recording with the team.
Sounds lovely.
Hey, so we're gonna miss you, Dylan, next week or 2 weeks from now at Insights. But we will all be together in Ohio like in a month or so, right? We have a live recorded, not live show that we're doing there. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. All right. So if we get those 2 listeners back, that's what you have to look forward to. So
sounds great.
Do stick on.
Some amazing stuff coming up.
To Jake for joining us. That was a cool episode. One that I will go back and listen to. I haven't listened to any of the others. Not that they're not great. God damn it, I always do this. Like I piss off all of our old guests early. I'm just gonna shut up. You guys want to end it?
It's a great note to end. Perfect.
Let's just end
perfect.
Right
we
there.
never listen to any of our stuff. Great.
All right. See you guys later.
See you guys.